Let me ask you a question. Do you want to see your business, your ministry, your organization, your church grow within this next year? Now, more than likely, if you are a leader, business owner, pastor, etc., your answer is yes, completely. Now, what if I told you that the secrets to seeing that growth over this next year is actually found in the Bible? And what if I told you that it's actually found in Genesis chapter 11 with the story of the Tower of Babel? My name is Jeff Moores. I'm a lead pastor, church planter, leadership consultant, father, friend, the list goes on. And I want to share with you 4 simple principles and 1 motivating factor. And stay tuned to the end because please, that last one is like everything hinges on that. If you go to the book of Genesis, which is what I was studying the other day, chapter 11, you actually see something that's going to seem a little bit counterintuitive. Now, what I mean is you're going to read this and you're going to go, yeah, but they failed, because we're actually talking about the Tower of Babel. And I want to show you they did fail, but I want to show you how they could have succeeded, Now, in Genesis chapter 11, it says, now the whole world had one language and a common speech. Pay attention to that. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, come, let's make bricks. Watch that. Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly. Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They used brick instead of stone and tar instead of mortar. That's important. Pay attention to that. Then they said, come, let's build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens so that we can make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth, of the whole earth. Now, the Lord didn't like that. So it says, but the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, if as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down and confuse their language so that they will not understand each other. So that's what the Lord did. They came down, confused the language, scattered them all across the earth. Now, it looks like they failed within this, but I want you to pay attention to something very important the Lord said. If as one people unified can come together, there's nothing that they can't do. So here are 4 simple principles out of that passage that if you implement into your business, into your ministry, into your church, into your organization, you will see success. First being this, common language. Do you have common language within your organization? Meaning, are there certain phrases that everyone knows and everyone understands? So that way, that when you're speaking with one another, you know what the other person is saying, which then leads me to the next point, is clear communication. Clear communication. So we see in the text that they had common speech. So common, they know what each other's saying. But then there's clear communication. They speak to one another. And they say, this is what it is we're going to do. It's important, again, that there is clear communication. Sometimes we assume that people know what it is that we're thinking when ultimately they don't. So they run off and they go do something else. And you're like, I didn't ask you to do that. I didn't want you to do that. So clear communication. They said to each other, let's build bricks. They said to each other, let's build a city. They said to each other, let's build a tower that reaches to the heavens so that we can make a name for ourselves. They talked with one another. Is there clear communication? Maybe it's from the top down, maybe it's from the bottom up, maybe it's side to side, but do your staff, do your volunteers, do your teams, do you communicate clearly with one another? Thirdly, and this is actually one of my favorites, is they had innovative methods. Innovative methods. You have to be willing to innovate in order to see success. If you look, watch this, if you look within the chapter and you go to verse 3, it says, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Why did they use brick and tar instead of stone and mortar? Because it was faster. To make a clay brick is you simply put it into a mold, you set it in the sun, it bakes, it hardens. To build with stone, you have to chisel it, you have to fashion it, you have to make sure that it fits on the other stone. It's a much longer process. For the tar, you just have to heat it up and that's it. For the mortar, you have to gather all the different ingredients into it, you have to mix it up, then you have to stir it, keep it wet the whole time, and then it's a much longer process. So they were able to build their cities and this tower that they were doing faster. Sometimes we want to stick with the stone and mortar because that's what we're used to and that's what we know. But ultimately, look for ways to innovate, for you guys to get better, for you guys to get faster, and for you guys to maybe even create something more quality. Don't always stick to what you've known and what you've done when there could be a better solution out there. Number 4 is they had a unified purpose. They were in this together. They wanted to build the city together. They wanted to build a tower reaching to the heavens together. There was no fighting amongst themselves. They just were like, we're going to do this together. We're in this together. Is there a purpose that your team is unified under? Is there a purpose that is clear within your organization for this next year? This is where we're going, and this is what we want to accomplish, and this is how we're going to do it. So there, for all of your teams and all of your volunteers or all of your employees, all your staff can get behind it and help make it happen. But here's the key factor. If this is wrong, then everything can fall apart. And this is where they went wrong here with the Tower of Babel, which, by the way, Babel just means confusion in the Hebrew. So you don't want confusion in your organization. It said that they wanted to make a name for themselves. They wanted to make a name for themselves. Our motivation can never be to make ourselves great. The goal is to make his name great, to show him as the ultimate, not to show ourselves as the ultimate. And so he comes down and he confuses their language. He stopped their success because he saw that it was selfish. So our key motivating factor has to be right. It all comes back to making God's name great, not our own, not our own. That's where they blew it. If they were like, man, we're building a tower to the heavens so that everyone may know that Yahweh is Lord God, I wonder what they could have done, because God's mouth says it. He says it himself. He says, if a people are unified, there's nothing that there's nothing they can't do. I would love to know your thoughts. I'd love to know your opinions. I'd love to know what your purpose is for this next year. I'd love to know which one of these 4, and then the motivating factor, which one spoke to you the loudest. So be sure to like this video, comment, subscribe. Can't wait to see you. Until next time.